Well, first came the headaches for the drivers, now the political migraines for Chris Christie. The feds on the case. The legislature, brand new committee just to investigate the governor, and mayors and state senators now spilling the beans about acts of political payback over the Christie years. And we are starting to hear people use the I word when talking about this governor. Yes, you heard me right. They're talking possible impeachment. What is the political prognosis for Chris Christie as we speak? And is 2016 now just a pipe dream? Or could this become another leadership moment? Our panel will sound off. And who is having the worst Monday? Christie? Or how about A-Rod? The Yankee third baseman suspended for the entire season, now vowing to fight. But the question is, can he? Well, Andy Martino of the Daily News joins us live to answer the question. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to RFL. I'm Richard French. Thank you so much for joining us this Monday evening, July 13th. There is tonight a new political headache, as we said, for Chris Christie, one not directly connected to the mess at the GW Bridge, but the timing, it is unmistakable, and this isn't just a state matter. Uncle Sam also taking a look into the matter, and let's get the latest from our senior political correspondent, Andrew Whitman.
And once again, Rich, there is a lot to get through tonight. As state investigations into the bridge payback scandal and other issues continue, the feds are now looking into whether Governor Christie misused Hurricane Sandy relief funds. Specifically, the Inspector General at Housing and Urban Development wants to know if these stronger than the storm ads were handled improperly. The contract for the ads went to a politically connected firm whose employees had donated to the governor's re-election. And the ad campaign they assembled featured Governor Christie and his family in the ads. The competing offer did not. And there's one more wrinkle to that competing offer that was rejected for this ad project. It would have cost taxpayers less.
Well, I don't want you to get the impression that I don't think it was a good idea to do an ad campaign. And in fact, there's probably going to be an ad campaign for next summer as well. It's not the actual doing the advertising that is bothering me. It's the fact that the low bidder wasn't chosen, and that the one that was chosen was twice the price, an extra $2 million, and they clearly, both the low bidder indicated that they were not going to put the governor in the ad.
From a federal focus back to the Garden State, the bridge scandal still far from done, though ominously for the governor, lawmakers are beginning to entertain talk about possible impeachment.
If it becomes known that the governor was involved and he knew about it, and he knew about the cover-up, and he was approving the actions taken by his senior staff, that raises serious questions that the Assembly ought to look at, and that ought to be considered in light of what our responsibility is. The Assembly has the ability to do articles of impeachment. We're way ahead of that, though.
Also now entertaining the notion of impeachment, State Senator Barbara Buono. She's the Democrat Christie beat in the gubernatorial race, and who he wanted to beat so decisively that it led to the bridges payback scandal. She spoke with Rich earlier.
If in fact there's found that there was a cover-up of this retaliatory act of closing lanes, then that would rise to the level of an impeachable crime.
Buono and Rich also spoke about those now famous emails, including the time for some traffic problems in Fort Lee and the follow-up text where an unknown sender said he or she felt bad about the kids in Fort Lee, to which a Christie ally, David Wildstein, replied, quote, "They are the children of Buono voters."
I wasn't surprised that this happened, that it was an act of political retribution, and I've worked up close and personal with this governor for 4 years, and in particular in the political campaign. And so when this surfaced initially in early September, I knew what had happened in my heart of hearts, and I talked about it. I talked about it on national TV when we did our debates, but unfortunately, nobody paid attention.
So there's talk of impeachment if the evidence warrants, and today a new tool for Democrats in Trenton to dig for evidence. A new panel that will do nothing but investigate Governor Christie and Bridgegate. FIOS 1 News' Kimberly Wallace reports from Trenton.
Democrats announced a new super committee in the Assembly that's being formed to enhance investigative efforts in the GWB lane closure controversy in the new legislative session beginning Wednesday.
We're going to have independent counsel that we're looking into. So this committee is a committee that is going to sit both Democrats and Republicans on it. It'll be a super committee. The members are still to be determined.
We know we need to change laws. The Port Authority and other agencies are going to need a drastic overhaul. The only way we can do that effectively is to understand how this happened and the chain of command that allowed it to happen.
The bipartisan investigative committee will be chaired by Assemblyman John Wisniewski, who has spearheaded the investigation into the September lane closures on the George Washington Bridge that caused massive delays, allegedly for political payback against the Fort Lee mayor.
It strains credibility to say that all of these senior people whose job it is to communicate and keep the governor informed did absolutely nothing with these emails. And that's why we need to start and do this on a piece-by-piece basis to find out who else in the governor's office was involved in the decision. Republican Assemblyman John Bramnick says he was not given a heads up by the Democrats that this new committee was being formed.
I'm also a lawyer, so I want to make sure that when we authorize an investigation, it's within some parameters. You know, we surely don't want just partisanship here.
Wisniewski says additional subpoenas will likely be issued Thursday after a special legislative session votes on the resolution.
Bridget Kelly and Bill Stepien are the two most likely next individuals, and probably asked to look at documents first before we call them in for testimony, and there may be others.
The Senate has also announced plans to create a similar special committee that will continue investigative efforts on the Senate side. Reporting for RFL, Kimberly Wallace, FiOS 1 News, Trenton, New Jersey.
And it now appears that Fort Lee's mayor wasn't the only one who faced pressure and payback for crossing the governor's re-election campaign. Before the election, the Democratic mayor of Jersey City was offered a day of access to the governor's top staffers, transportation, economic development, much more. The mayor essentially offered the keys to the gubernatorial candy store, so to speak. Then when that mayor refused to endorse, the commissioners began calling to cancel. Quote the Times, almost all the cancellations came within an hour and the remaining ones followed close on their heels. That the commissioners called the mayor's office personally, the Times reports, shows an unusually close level of involvement for high-ranking government officials. Similar scenario in Hoboken, only these talks were reportedly over storm recovery money. The mayor's trip to Trenton, in fact, originally about relief money for Hurricane Sandy, seemed to become a push for an endorsement. And after the mayor of Hoboken decided to remain neutral, quote, the $100 million in flood prevention grant money she had been talking to Trenton about turned into just $300,000. Rich?
And I've heard other comments, Andrew, from mayors in Elizabeth and other cities as well, saying when you start to paint the mosaic, this has been a pattern that's been building, especially right around the recent election. All right, now for more on where the investigation is headed and for more insight on how this governor operates, we turn to another governor, a former governor of New Jersey, Dick Cody, now a sitting state senator. Now the two, he and Governor Christie, have butted heads over the years, but he was very clear earlier today what he thinks about this investigation and this governor.